Hello everyone, greetings from Brussels. First up, thanks to Waterford City and County Library for the invitation to speak. Particular thanks to Sinead O'Higgins, who we have lots of interaction with because on top of all the other great facilities Waterford Library offers, it also houses the only Europe Direct Centre in Ireland's southeast, a wonderful resource set up to provide information on the EU, for example, on the EU's Biodiversity Strategy 2030. I'm delighted to be here today. I'm particularly pleased on this Ireland's Reads Day. I'd encourage you all to get reading, whether it's novels or biographies, history, science or ecology. Europe Direct also has at hand lots of really interesting reading material. But to get to my main topic, biodiversity. Biological diversity or biodiversity is vital to our climate, our health, our food systems and the very survival of our own species. In my role as MEP for Ireland South, as rapporteur on the EU's 8th Environment Action Programme, I have responsibility for guiding and monitoring Europe's environmental policy for the coming years. This includes areas such as climate, circular economy and of course, biodiversity loss. Biodiversity loss is having a severe impact on our lives. More recently, we have even seen evidence of the link between biodiversity loss and the spread of global diseases. COVID-19, for example, is a zoonotic disease, one of the many such diseases linked to the destruction of nature. For a healthy society, we need to nurture healthy ecosystems. Our natural landscapes look nothing like they used to. Millennia of human activity, the growth of cities and the taming of our wilderness has impacted heavily on the natural environment. Exacerbated by climate crisis, this decline has only got worse in recent years. The global population of wild species has fallen by 60% over the last 40 years. 1 million species are currently at risk of extinction. In Ireland, according to the Environmental Protection Agency, half of our freshwater rivers and lakes are polluted. Natural habitats are in a dire state and overfishing continues. Pollinators like bees, which are critical to our food systems, are disappearing because of our farming and land use. A third of Irish wild bee species are now threatened with extinction. And in the oceans, the situation is just as bad and even less understood. We simply cannot go on like this. By definition, our way of life is not sustainable. We are not living within our planetary boundaries. Under the umbrella of the European Green Deal and guided by the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the EU has launched a strategy to reverse this crisis. Under the 2030 Biodiversity Strategy, we have set targets to legally protect 30% of the EU's lands and seas, with legally binding targets for restoration of nature. This includes designating a third of our seas as marine protected areas. For our island, this will mean a new relationship with the Atlantic Ocean. 25,000 kilometres of the EU's rivers and streams are to be restored to their natural condition, with the removal of obsolete dams and infrastructure. We must value our floodplains and peatlands for their many roles in nature, not just their potential for development and exploitation. As for our farmers, they know too well the food that reaches our table depends on biodiversity. The biodiversity strategy intends to set aside 10% of farmland to give space back to nature and increase the use of organic crops. We are also seeking a reduction in the use of pesticides and fertilizers, which often seep into our rivers and streams. The biodiversity strategy commits to reversing the decline in pollinator species. There are some great examples of this work on our doorstep. For example, Kilbarry Nature Park in Waterford. What was once a landfill is now a pollinator paradise. 20 billion euros has been committed to the biodiversity strategy, but the real value of restoring biodiversity cannot be quantified. Restoring biodiversity and tackling the climate crisis means not only avoiding catastrophe for our species, it means providing new opportunities to reinvent, innovate and put into place a more sustainable way of living for generations to come. To conclude, the 2030 Biodiversity Strategy provides the targets and some of the tools. It is up to the national governments and local authorities across the 27 EU member states to ensure these goals are met. Ireland's own Climate Action Bill is one such step in the right direction. We also celebrate this month 5 years of the All-Island Pollinator Plan, coordinated by Dr. Una Fitzpatrick here in WIT's National Biodiversity Data Centre. There remains much, much more to do. Thank you.